What are your thoughts on taking this very biblical idea of movement and being welcoming? How do you really mesh that with like the politics of this country? What does that look like in politics? Because I feel like it's so much messier than just let's be
Hmm.
welcoming as a nation. So, what are steps that
Right.
this country could take that we individually could take as Christians? Yeah, thoughts on
Well,
that.
uh, the first thing that I would say, um, that what Christians need to do is stop thinking about what we do as a nation first. Um, Rather, kind of approach this from what is it that Christians should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is one of the big challenges that has faced Christians during this election season,
Mm-hmm.
is that we're used to thinking and we're used to framing our discipleship in terms of a national agenda or what is possible by nations. And I think this election has been revelatory on this, that Christians shouldn't expect that that necessarily should be the case.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there are things that as Christians we can advocate for with respect to national immigration policy. Um, so there's been a lot of discussion. It's been proposed back in 2008 and then a couple of times since then, kind of this, what's been called the pathway to citizenship. Um, that showed up some in the kind of the primaries. You haven't heard hardly anything about it since the primaries, but I think that that's an acknowledgement that you have, you know, 11 million people by some counts that are in the country, but in undocumented ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so many of them have families. Many of them have been here longer than they've been in their home country, with their country of origin. So what do you do in that situation? You know, there's been some there have been some things which the current administration has done, which I think have been helpful on that front. In the last 2 years, President Obama um, issued some directives which were directed at kind of not breaking up families who were in that situation. So if you had, say, parents that were born in another country, but the child was born in this country, you don't want to deport the parents and leave the children here. That would
Right.
be monstrous. Um, Likewise, you know, what do you do with somebody who's been in this country for decades and now sees this really as the country that they've contributed much of their adult lives to? That just doesn't seem, that seems unjust to do that, to
Mm-hmm.
deport somebody then. We'll get into more of these sorts of these things, but as a country, I think that taking seriously kind of the concept of pathway to citizenship is not only does it cohere, I think, to the biblical witness, but I just think it makes practical sense.
Yeah.